Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chaitali Bag from the European Bureau of Aviation and Defense Universe, based out of Cyprus. In the era of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India, response to Indian defense industry to the call is mesmerizing. Zuppa Geo Navigation Technologies is India's unique and only deep technology company that has developed its own proprietary core computing architecture for fifth generation technologies and is the key to the evolution of IoT, connected mobility, and unmanned systems like drone, real time, low latency image systems for ADAS and industrial automation. Today, we have in ADU's chat room Mr. Venkatesh Sai, founder and technical director, Zuppa Geo Navigation Technologies Private Limited, unraveling the story of his successful drive. And to know more about this company, we have with us editor ADU Sangeeta Saxena. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, Mr. Venkatesh. Please, it's a pleasure to have you both in the chat room.
So much, Chetali. It was wonderful, to come to a show where we have somebody who's the second generation of our interviewees. And it's just wonderful, Venkat, to have you on the show. And we've been looking forward to it. And, it's very interesting. And we begin with our first thought, Zuppa. What is Zuppa? How did the idea of this come to you?
Yeah. So as a company, we started off quite, early on in what we call as, fifth generation technology space, which was primarily in the drones or what we call as unmanned aerial vehicles. It was around 2013, 14 when we got this idea that, I got this idea that I should be doing something in this space. We are seeing that trends are going in that direction. Future warfare and future defense systems are all moving towards smart unmanned systems. And we were tracking we were always wanting to be a global company, something that was develop something that is contemporary, even in the global sense. So we came out with, seeing that, yes, we identified UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, and drones as a contemporary space as well as technology to be in. And of course, we also, it didn't hurt that, we already had clients and tie-ups with organizations like NAL, National Aerospace Laboratories, as well as ADE, which is Aeronautical Development Establishment, for certain projects and, certain, products that we were working on. So during that course, we came to understand that, one of the core things that if we want to, be contemporary in the space, we had, since we started a little early on, we had an option that we could choose either to be in the system integration level, which basically means that, we put together a system using bought-out components, or, we offer services using the system like, spraying services or, marriage photography, these kind of things, which are called services, or we make softwares for the industry. So the question was, you either get into the core embedded system, the electronic chip level, electronic design, firmware design, which is quite a significant entry barrier. And it's quite tough because sitting in India, we were like wanting to do something that was very contemporary for the time. So we said, I think let's start this process. We had, we had funds available, and my father had quite a lot of business experience also. So I was like, okay, let us start seeing how we can see if we can make an embedded control system, what we call as an autopilot. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the term autopilot. You have the Tesla autopilot and all these things today. But we were thinking of this in 2014 itself. And we said, we need to get into this space. So we created certain very niche embedded architectures called, I have an international patent on my name, on the name of, it's called disseminated parallel control computing for real-time environments. It's a very complicated technical jargon, but it basically, we created an architecture in a method in which an autopilot functions like our human brain, to control a kind of a vehicle or airplane or drone and all these type of things. And we got in fact, pesticide spraying drones, drones to do pesticide spraying in 2016 itself, which had our own autopilot and flight control system technology. And today a lot of companies are talking about it, and you would see, the 100 drone program in 2022. We were doing this in 2016 itself with many companies. Uh, of course, at that time, the drone ban and these type of things came into place. So unlike most of the existing drone companies at that era went into the services industry and started delivering services, we chose to remain in our manufacturing and core technology space, but we diversified into connected vehicles, autonomous tractors, various those type of technologies, and that helped us also grow our organization, build our technology, and sustain the company and existing. Of course, now there is a huge opportunity, and we are working on a number of defense projects as well as products in the defense space, because fifth generation technology, drones, everything is a in thing. In fact, in the ongoing wars also, everyone is talking about shortage of drones. So yeah, it is a key technology, and we are in a good position. So Zuppa originated from that idea that we wanted to do something very different and something that was fundamental.
Very nice. Actually, very interesting because, unmanned aerial vehicles are very popular nowadays. And you do have, the industry burgeoning in the country. So, for somebody to do such a niche activity like this, and you just spoke of a patent you have got. Now, is that patent being utilized by you or somebody else? Also, people want to, buy the rights and do something. Is there any forthcoming news like this from your end?
Yes, it's very interesting. So, we have, of course, some of those details. I cannot, this thing talk about it in this open forum, but we are in discussion with certain companies who have licensed our technology, as well as we have set up certain joint ventures with larger, listed companies who are using our technology to take their products into a commercial scale. As a company, yes, we work with a number of clients, both in the private civilian space as well as in the defense space. In the defense space, yes, we have quite a few projects as well as products which we are involved in, where we work with companies, like DPSUs, like HAL, as well as MOD directly with the Ministry of Defense, as well as we work with certain private companies and startups like Big Bang Boom Solutions and a few other companies like that, in providing them embedded technology and providing them our niche DPCC environment for executing on their projects. So yeah, it is being utilized in quite a few products as well as many projects.
Very nice. So that's very interesting actually. And Venkat, what when we go as we go ahead with your journey, so defense is a major arena for such products. So at the moment in the Indian Army, Indian Navy, Indian Air Force, is your product in use actually factually in use, or are you in the process of talks?
So yes, our products, some of our products, as of today, we have close to 450 plus clients, and they are of course distributed. I would say 80% are in the civilian space, 20% in the defense in terms of rollout. I'm talking about deployments, and we have sold close to 10,500 units of various of our our basically our technology chipsets. We have certain system on modules. One is called the Edge SOM, and then we have the Navgati SOM, which are meant for specific data acquisition as well as data automation processes. So yes, we have certain pilot rollouts, but this is a emerging technology. We are in discussions with a number of with direct armed forces, as well as a number of organizations like DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. We are working on many of their live products, as well as some other projects. So to sum it up, as of today, our deployments are there. They are there, but in a smaller scale, as because the technology by itself is quite contemporary worldwide. And we see that in the next 4 to 5 years, it will just grow exponentially. We are already seeing it. We have got certain orders and certain commitments which reflect.
Absolutely wonderful, and does that mean that the natural progression will be towards the homeland security and the police forces?
So one of the things is that yes, we do, as I had said previously, we have a wide range of technologies, and which have emerged from our patent. We have wide range of products. Some of those products, like the Ajit Mini, which is a civilian drone that we are launching with a joint venture partner in this month. It is basically meant for paramilitary as well as police services, and yes, that is one of the things that we have been also working in the past with certain private organizations who provide services for the police, for the Tamil Nadu police. We have provided them some communication modules, tracking modules, and chipsets. So yes, it's kind of, it has a huge application both in the civilian space and the defense space. And yeah, police is one of the areas that we have seen is good scope.
When you say civilian aerospace, what would you mean by it? Would you mean commercial application, or would you also mean governmental applications, like we had, the measuring exercise the country took, and we used only drones to measure every inch of this land? So are such activities also a part of your input, or what would you actually be your input into the civilian aerospace?
Perfect. Yeah, I think that it's a very pertinent question. If you look at it in our, what is our technology? I think, I'll give a short introduction on that. So we have a product called the Navgati, which is basically what we call as an autopilot or a flight control system. Now, when we say, unmanned aerial vehicle, it's another name for drone. We call it, specifically unmanned aerial vehicle. The reason we say it's unmanned and it's not manned is that most of the manned functions are being taken care of by the electronics. So put it in short, every drone has a motherboard. Like how your computer or your smartphone has a motherboard, your drone requires to have a motherboard. We are one among the handful of companies globally who have developed our own proprietary technology for what we could call as a drone motherboard or an autopilot, another word for an autopilot. So when we sell our products, it is used in pesticide drones, it is used for survey and mapping applications, it's used for surveillance applications. So our end customers basically are also drone companies, as well as as well as defense entities who use our motherboard in their own drones, and they provide whatever service they want. To put it in short, it is something like an, I would, it's a little nascent as of now, but it is something like the Intel inside your computer. We offer something like a Zuppa inside for a drone. So the applications are enormous. It can be used in any field.
And one thing which you are an expert, Venkat, and who better than you to explain it to us? What is the Internet of Military Things?
So we are working also on many IoT applications.
Yeah, that's why I
thought. Yes. So what actually happens is that, when we talk about the latest, theater of war, what we would call as, modern warfare, or, battlefield management systems. It's all interlinked. It basically essentially means that we require to be more situationally aware, or the ground troops or whoever is in the war zone, or deploying warfare techniques needs to be more situationally aware. That means about his surroundings. He needs to be more conscious, connectedly aware, as what we call it. You have a collective awareness of yourself, troops, machines, assets. So the basic, crux is you need to have a lot more situational awareness in modern warfare as of today. And we see that IOMT is one of the Internet of Military Things is one of the things which is gaining a huge scope as of today. Because IOMT is what actually bridges drones. A drone communicating with, say, a person on the field, or a drone communicating with the commander of a tank. These are all situations, these are all scenarios which have to be performed in a modern warfare situation. So IOMT actually forms the bridge between a number of field assets, as well as you have so like, for example, you have battle tanks, you have autonomous systems like unmanned ground vehicles, unmanned aerial vehicles like drones, personnel on the ground. All this needs to be interlinked such that there's a significant collective awareness that even if a drone, say, 3.5 or 4 kilometers away spots enemy, the entire group battalion would come to know of it in an instant. It would come out as a notification on their phone or tablet, or whatever device that is being deployed. So IOMT forms the bridge in current modern warfare techniques, what we call as the fifth generation of technology. It's basically an electronic and software layer over currently existing military hardware. So may it be a tank, the battle tank is going to be remaining constant, but it's going to be getting more connected. It's going to be getting more autonomous. It's going to be getting more smart. It might reach a stage where it might be able to take its own decisions. But for all these things, we need, like, for example, a human, when we want to say, take a decision, we unconsciously take into account a number of factors which are within our near vicinity, as well as stuff that is, away far vicinity. By making a phone call or looking at, the internet, we come to know of certain situations which might not be affecting our near vicinity, but it might be, say, affecting, a few kilometers or something away. So based on that, we take decisions. Now, tomorrow, if vehicles need to take its own decisions, you deploy AI, at least level 3 AI onto a system, and you expect it to take decisions. It needs to be aware. It needs to be situationally aware. It needs to have a collective intelligence. It needs to automatically be able to gain insights. So that's where IOMT plays a key role actually in the defense innovation, as well as the defense sector currently. We see that it is going to be playing a huge role in future warfare, and it will be an enabler which will enable machines, humans, to basically take much more informed and clear and precise decisions. So the IOMT is going to be the
and
key.
Zuppa, where does it come in IOMT?
So, as Zuppa, since we do have, so to put it in a very simple sense, Zuppa already has certain products as well as technologies, certain vision-based technologies, as well as control-based technologies, and communication-based technologies, which we have certain patents on, which we have created for this space, envisioning this aspect. So, like, for example, we have one called the Zuppa Edge platform. So Edge is, is what we call as an SOM, or system on module. It's a small chipset, which has RF communication, GPS location, LORA, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, a number of communication interfaces, as well as development interfaces. So, somebody could theoretically use edge to create a complete IOMT network throughout a warfare situation. And these are all stuff that are ready to deploy. Of course, there will be some upgradation, some modifications required for military applications. But we are looking at a key area where we want to be providing a number of the network hardware, secure network hardwares, embedded chipsets, which will enable this entire network to form. So we are looking at the hardware layer, the core layer.
Right, absolutely. And in continuation with this point, Venkat, tell me one thing. If we want to upgrade a traditional computer architecture, is Zuppa into that field also of upgrading?
So I wouldn't say per se into that specific computer architecture. Let's look at it in a different manner. Um, I had told previously in this meeting that we have a technology called DPCC, which is a very complex terminology that we had created. But essentially, I'll explain to you with a few similes as to what is DPCC. So it came out, actually originated as from close to a year and a half of extreme R&D efforts that me and a few of my friends and so people associated we took. So when we were initially creating we were very clear, we wanted to focus on the autopilot or flight control system. We saw that as a very core area of unmanned systems in general. The motherboard of a drone is a very core system. Without it, the drone cannot fly. So we said, that's something we should focus on. And there only, at that time, there were about 8 players globally. Today, there are about 12 players totally. And we said, this is a space we should focus on. India needs to have its own indigenous autopilot system. So we did a lot of research. We came to understand, we were doing like technical stuff like, multi-threading, this, that, and we tried to use regular computer architectures like i5 and these type of, ARM architectures for performing our, control system, making our control system. We came to understand, after a few, you would eventually come that after a few cycles, it creates a failure. These were all things. So failure in a drone basically means a crash. So the drone comes and it crashes. So he said, this has to be something different. We have to be thinking different. We cannot use traditional computer architectures for a control system, which is real time. So that came to an idea of a DCS. So how a DPCC originated was, I was actually just driving down the road one day in a car. And suddenly, as we know in our Indian roads, a dog just ran across. I was driving at nearly 60. So I had to immediately swerve, and I swerved very fast, avoided the dog. And I kept continuing towards, I was going to my office, a little late. So I was driving a little fast and going. But something occurred that time where I started thinking about this action, what happened, because as we know, when certain events like that happen, your brain becomes ultra aware. So I came to understand that, one very core thing about our human control system is that, as humans, we have a reflex action, we have a thought out action. Our reflex action is so spontaneous, we are able to quickly avoid an obstacle. And Indians are very good at that. And our thought out action is that, even though we are doing this very fast speed reflex action, we are trying to avoid some object. You observe your brain, you would continue to think about higher operations. Where do I have to take a left? The cop will be standing, say, 100 meters away. If I take this U-turn, I can avoid him, stuff like that, which are navigation functions. You continue to think of that when you're performing a very spontaneous, very high speed action. We said, "Arey, boss, this is the best idea. If we can replicate our human control system in an electronic form, it would give us a very superior, reliable, and robust control system." So that is what DPCC is. We created what we call as an architecture for control computing in real-time environments for drones and other things. Like, for example, you have your Intel i5, which is architecture for computers. An architecture for drones, for unmanned vehicles is DPCC. So like i5 or i7, we created a computer architecture.
Wonderful, absolutely. And with so much of activity on the domestic front, tell me, what are your plans for the international front?
So we started off the company saying that we wanted to be a contemporary technology company globally, and we continue to have that vision very strongly. And now, of course, we have products and technologies to back that up, and deployments also in the field. We are speaking with a number of companies abroad for expanding into at least the Middle East region and other kind of things. And the technology by itself, if you take drones or ADAS, any of these spaces where our patent is applied, are contemporary fields, and they have a number of applications abroad and in the global sense also, apart from our domestic markets. Yes, so we are actively pursuing a number of leads and discussing with a number of companies.
So is the international market very competitive, Venkat?
So if you look at it in specific sense, it depends upon the complexity of which space we are operating in. Like, for example, I'll just take the drone space. So globally, we have around 12 companies which have proprietary autopilots, and we are one among them. So it is quite a niche space because of the entry barrier. As I've always said, an autopilot is something on a drone. A drone has its freedom to move in any direction, so it's always in a state of chaos. It is our job, or the controller or the autopilot's responsibility, to keep that chaos under check. So it is something which is on the razor's edge. It is on the cutting edge. So it has its entry barrier. But yes, we see that going forward, competition will emerge because of the emphasis on self-reliance for this technology in many countries. So of course, in India, we are the only company who have this. But abroad, like in the emerging global sense, no other country would like to rely on another country for core technology. So going forward, yes, there would be competition, but yeah, we would have our own niche.
Right. And this conversation is so wonderful, and I cannot end it before I ask you one question, which I wanted to start with, but then I thought, no, let me ask it at the end. Sure. What is the glamour and charisma behind the name Zuppa? How did that come?
Okay, so Zuppa actually started off. It had a sign. We said we wanted to do, since we're doing something superb, we should have something, we should call it, super. So then we were like, no, super doesn't sound very catchy. It's not very great. And it's too common if you take the Google search engine. So we found that, we did it in a very scientific manner. We did which is the letter which has the least number of references, which has the most number of references. So we found that Z is a very unique letter. You start with Z on Google, you get a very few options. Whereas any other letter, you get quite a few. And I think that's what also Zomato picked up on. So that was the same time. So we also picked up on that, and we said ZUPPA, where U has the second highest, A has the most common. So we put together the words which were tuned in a technical fashion for the search engine, as well as we wanted to show everyone that we do superb things. So that's how Zuppa originated. And it also sticks in your mind. The moment I say Zuppa, it sticks. It's very unique. It sticks in your mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful, Venkat. It was so nice speaking with you. I mean, I'm sure the audience will absolutely love it, as we love listening to you. It's so nice to see, and I'm extremely happy on a personal level that, it's you interview a generation, and very rarely we come across second generations. And I'm really, I'm very, very extremely happy you came to ADU's chat room, and wishing you all the best for your future endeavors. I'm sure Zuppa will really be Zoop, so it'll be great. So taking you back to Cyprus, where Chaitali is waiting for us in our studios there. Chaitali, back to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Venkat. It was really nice to hear you. And of course, actually, I had this question in my mind too with the name Zuppa. I mean, it's like something very unusual for a tech company and things like this. Thank you so much. I'm sure our audience would love to hear your journey. And you, as a second generation, as ma'am said, as a second generation, you're taking the company to new heights. We wish you a very best in this journey. And thanks again for coming to the chat room. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.